Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we're going to talk about Super Witches, my absolute favorite attack at Town Hall 12. The three things you need to remember whenever using Super Witches are pathing, time, and protecting your healers. For example, if you take the path south of these Inferno Towers, your healers are just going to get roasted, and eventually you're just going to run out of time with your attack. But pathing is most important. If you can get pathing through the base and you can predict where your Super Witches are going to go, you're going to 3-star almost every time with Super Witches. Most of the time, a Super Witch attack is done with a Warden Walk. Sometimes the player will use Zaps, which in this case, he does use Zaps on that Inferno Tower around 10 o'clock. The reason being is because of pathing. Again, pathing is so important with Super Witches. He's going to path his Super Witches through that first Inferno Tower around 2 o'clock, and he's going to path them south. If he had done so, leaving that Inferno Tower up, then that Inferno Tower, again, point number 3, would have eaten through his healers, and he would have lost his healers and probably would not have tripled. Sometimes with your Warden Walk, you want to look at getting a really valuable defense, but again, in this case, he just Warden Walked for pathing because he knew where he was going to go. He decided to use his king on the opposite side, and then in this instance, he used a Siege Barracks. I have seen a Siege Barracks most often with this attack. You can also use a Flame Flinger if you're trying to create pathing on the other side. A lot of base builders, especially at Town Hall 12 now, are seeing the power of a Flame Flinger, and so they're protecting against it by putting their mortars in a specific area or by putting their expos in a specific area. So use whatever's best for you. A Siege Barracks is an excellent option. If you don't have access to a Siege Barracks, then a lot of times I'll see a Stone Slammer that's brought in from the opposite side in order to push those Super Witches down one way or the other. But in every single super attack that you look at, whenever you're looking at the base, trying to figure out if it's something that you want to attack, whether you're going to use Zaps, whether you're going to use the Flame Flinger, whether you're going to do a Warden Walk, always look for pathing. Always look for pathing. If you can get the pathing throughout the base with your Super Witches, then you can take care of that base and you can triple it almost every time. Again, second is time. With a Super Witch attack, it's typically a lot slower than your other attacks. It's a lot slower, for example, than a Lalo, which is one of the fastest attacks in the game. So you have to consider the fact that time may run out. And then lastly, of course, protect your healers because your healers are what are keeping your Super Witches alive. Excellent attack by Marco, excellent triple, excellent use of the 3 principles that I just described. Remember, in every Super Witch attack, remember the 3 things: look for pathing, remember your time, and protect your healers. Those are the 3 most important things whenever doing a Super Witch attack. In this attack, I'm going to use a Flame Flinger at 9 o'clock, I'm going to do a Warden Walk at noon, and I'm going to take out those compartments in order to create the pathing that my Super Witches need to go through the center of the base. Because I'm using that Flame Flinger at 9 o'clock, I'm unsure if there are Teslas or maybe Skelly Traps or maybe a Giant Bomb that can drastically reduce the life of my Flame Flinger. So I send in Hogs to test for traps before I do that. If you're unsure of the most effective way to test for traps before you put down your Flame Flinger, my very first YouTube video was actually effectively testing for traps and Teslas so that you can use your Flame Flinger. Watch that. I give you some ideas. But as you can see, the Flame Flinger at 9 o'clock, creating that pathing, creating that funnel, the Warden Walk at noon, creating that path, creating that funnel. I did use some Zaps on that AD because I was unsure if the Warden was going to be able to reach it, and I wanted to make sure that it did not affect my healers, which again, point number 3, protect your healers. And then, of course, after that pathing is created, then down go my witches, and they're just going to mow through the rest of the base. Another way to protect your healers that I haven't mentioned yet is using Coco Loons. So very important. Use your Coco Loons, any Coco Loons that can draw out Sam's, Black Mines to protect your healers, because as long as your healers are protected, then your witches are so tanky that they're going to stay alive. As my Super Witches are pathing through the center of the base, they have multiple options. But again, remember, pathing is of uber importance. And if you can direct your Super Witches down a path that's going to destroy the most defenses in the shortest amount of time, then you're more likely to triple. And so in order to create that pathing, I use a second jump spell at the Town Hall that, of course, ensures my at least a 2-star. Down at the bottom, you can notice that there are a few defenses that are left up that might not be gotten and might cause problems for my super witches or my queen later on. And so whenever I use super witches, I always keep a few loons in reserve. That way I can pick off defenses that might be out on the point, that might have been left behind. And that's actually what I did in this case exactly as well. Cleanup troops, so important to remember with your Town Hall 12 Super Witch attacks. A lot of times I'll see players bring 4 Super Witches, which is okay, and if you're experienced with Super Witches and you want to bring 4 Super Witches in your attack, that's fine. But oftentimes, if you bring 4 Super Witches, you don't have enough room for cleanup troops. I try to always bring 3 wizards or so to make sure that if there are any lingering buildings, because again, super witches are slow, to make sure that I have time to get to those. Hopefully this was helpful. If you liked it, like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.